What's up YouTube? Welcome back to another Fantasy Football Scout video with me, Lee, and this is Sam from FPL Family. Now, we're back with another points prediction video. You've got to go all the way back, Sam, to game week 15, because the games are coming so thick and fast right now over this Christmas and New Year period. You've got to go back to game week 15 for the last results of the Sam versus Lee. We'll talk about the rules in a second of the videos, but for those that are here every single week, tell the guys how we got on in game week 15.
Yes, as Lee says, last time we played was game week 15. I had the overs.
Yep.
You had the under 10% owned picks. So you started off with a nice clean sheet from Dallas. So that was handy.
Dallas. If only I'd had him this game week.
No, well, exactly, yeah. Would have been
He's
even
returning
better.
every week though, Dallas. What a fantastic pick he is at the minute.
Yeah, so consistent, isn't he? Whether it's a attacking return or a clean sheet or both, it's points galore.
Nice double
for
game week
Dallas
coming
at
up
the
as well.
moment.
Have a look at him, definitely.
You also had Raheem Sterling, who got 5.
Happy
that
days,
game,
well done, Raheem.
So decent. And Firmino, who was really unlucky actually not to return in that game week.
Yeah, he was.
Just the 2 for him. So 13 overall.
13 for my differentials. That feels okay.
Yeah,
that
it's
feels
not
alright.
bad.
Okay.
Not bad. I mean, I got off to a terrible start because Carl Walker was diagnosed with COVID just after we produced the video. So I was already down to 10 men, and 10 men. I was already down to 2 men. So I fear that this might be something that we get a little bit more of in the coming weeks.
It could decide the fate of Lee versus Sam over the next few weeks.
I think so, because that obviously hits you off to a bad start, because that game Man City did keep a clean sheet, would have been a 6-pointer for Carl Walker, because he would have certainly played in that game. But hey, you know, these things happen.
0 points.
Alongside me, the whole FPL community were bemused at best to see Salah blank against West Brom.
What was that game about? Seriously.
Who knows? So just a 2-pointer from Salah.
West Brom get that result, and then they go get battered by Leeds. It's like even if they showed a modicum of attacking intent against Leeds, which they did, that's what's going to happen to Sam Allardyce's men. They've got to play ultra defensive for the rest of the season, I think, to have a chance of surviving. But the January transfer window will be key for Allardyce and West Brom, I think.
Yeah, and then in that game week, yet again, one of the most consistent players in the league right now, of course, because I picked him, blanked. So Dominic Calvert-Lewin was my forward of choice that week. Nothing for him, just the 1 pointer, and of course, nothing for him again in the game week we are currently in game week 16 because of a COVID outbreak at Manchester City. So
that's really unlucky. Walker, Salah, Calvert-Lewin, most weeks.
It should have been.
Wins you.
Yeah, I mean, looking at those teams going into that game week, I think even you would have gone, that's a Sam win.
Yeah.
Losing one of them at the beginning of the week, I remember saying to you, it's just not going to be my week this week. If Carl Walker's already out, I think we had that news maybe on Christmas
So is that me
Day.
with the point from last week?
So that's you with the point by a long way. I mean, I got 3 because I only had Salah and Calvert-Lewin. So that's 8-5 now,
8-5.
still in my favour. So you are clawing it back. I think you've won the last 3 or 4.
A bit of a roll here, guys.
So you're on a little bit of a roll, and you have the overs this time
And
around.
for game week 17 in this video, I have got the over 10%ers. You've got the under 10% differentials.
Let's
now,
hope all 6 play.
Usual rules. Well, yes, absolutely. Usual rules apply, guys. We're going to pick a defender, a midfielder, and a forward for the upcoming game week 17. Can't have more than one player from the same team.
Yeah.
I've got the over 10%, so you've got the differential under 10%. So like you say, fingers crossed, guys, these guys even play, because that is the uncertainty in FPL right now.
And the thing is that, as we've seen, I mean, obviously, even if Carl Walker got his 6, he'd have had to have got a couple of bonus points, which was doable.
Yeah.
But it does throw you. When you've only got 3 players going for you, losing one of them is a bit of a nightmare.
Absolutely.
So we do need him to play.
All right, well, I'm going to go straight in there at 22.8% owned. Andy Robertson from Liverpool. Now, he is playing currently as we speak. We are recording and the game has just kicked off. So again, a bit of a risky pick to see whether he gets through the game or not. Some rumour that he wasn't going to start in that Newcastle game.
Is that what you went for?
In game week 16. So what I did was, I thought, well, if he's rested, then he'll be sure to start against Southampton.
Amazing.
I now have egg on my face, guys, because we've done the graphics. The video is set. He plays tonight against Newcastle. Whether he plays against Southampton away, I don't know. I guess he does. I noticed actually that obviously Milner can fill in for him at left back, but Milner gets the start today in central midfield against Newcastle. So obviously Klopp is going for graft with Henderson and Curtis and Milner in that central middle of the park there against Newcastle. So I don't think that Milner can play, or at least get 2 starts in a short period of time.
Who knows with Klopp?
Potentially. Who knows with Klopp? So therefore, this is ridiculous logic, but if Milner therefore starts against Newcastle, I'd say actually Robertson's place is more assured against Southampton because Tsimikas is still injured. Anyway, Whether he starts or not, Robertson is a good pick. I'm hoping he starts. Obviously, I'm hoping we don't have any more COVID outbreaks, certainly in the Liverpool and the Southampton squads. Southampton away, I think, is a good game for Liverpool.
Do you?
Well, I do. It's a very difficult game. Don't get me wrong. Southampton at home, and you've been on the McCarthy and Kyle Walker-Peters double up for some time, and every time you seem to... Whenever I look at your team, it's like 12 points from those two, if not more.
Normally more.
Because normally those are the two guys that get the bonus points. So you're talking about 15 points from those guys every time Saints play at home, which is
crazy. In game week 16, McCarthy got 9.
Brilliant.
And Kyle Walker-Peters was on for 2 bonus points until he got booked right at the death.
Yeah.
So actually, between the two of them, they would have been on for an 8-pointer and a 9-pointer.
So it's not an easy game for Liverpool.
It's
However,
not.
I do expect Saints to play their usual way of playing. Now, we know against Liverpool, when Liverpool played West Brom the other day, that low block is a problem. It is a problem. Often they'll find a way, in the way that Matip and Mane did in that game. But I think against the way that Southampton play, especially away from home, that should suit Liverpool. They should want to come out of their shell a little bit, Southampton, because that's how they play at home. I think that will suit the likes of Robertson. 7.3, still up there right in the premium bracket, but he's in my team and I'm backing him in Sam versus Lee.
It's interesting because I really rate the Southampton defence, as we've just discussed. So I'm not sure that goals galore is going to be a theme in that game.
Probably not, yeah.
And obviously there's some attacking potential there, but I also think that, Danny Ings is back for Southampton now as well. So they've got their talisman, then their top goal scorer back. So is the clean sheet nailed on? I think it's a tough game for Robertson.
All right, well, listen,
normally I'd go with you on a Liverpool defender, but I'm not so keen this week.
Well, you're not feeling my Robbo pick, but I am feeling your Tierney pick. Now, this is a nice pick. West Brom away, back-to-back wins now for Arsenal. First time they've pulled out back-to-back wins for a long time. Probably the first this season. I might be wrong in saying that.
It might be.
I think it's got to be the first time they've done that. Now, Arsenal's young guns come into the fore. Absolutely. Yes. And certainly the spirit that they showed, there was some video footage after the game against Brighton. And all right, Brighton could have won that game. Maybe should have been 1 or 2 up early doors, Brighton, that game. But Arsenal come back into it, got the 3 points in the end. Lots of hugs, lots of high fives at the end of the game. So the spirit seems to be back at Arsenal, and it's being fueled by the youngsters. Now, Kieran Tierney, I don't know whether you'd put him in the sort of young bracket. He's probably one of the more veteran players in that young side. But listen, he is showing a lot of leadership at the back. And at 5.3, looks like he could be reasonable value for Arsenal's fixtures coming up. But crucially, 4.4% owned.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? That, you look at the fixture on paper and you think, well, West Brom have just come back off a hammering from Leeds. And even in weeks prior, apart from the point that they miraculously managed to take from Liverpool the other week, they've been pretty bad. And Arsenal started the season badly, but there seems to be a bit of a change at Arsenal at the moment.
Yes, there does.
There seems to be a turnaround going on there.
Some of those senior players that have gone out of the team has actually helped them.
It's
and we've said it before in previous years with Arsenal, this kind of attitude that a lot of the senior players have. You take them out of the team, put the hungry youngsters in. Like Emile Smith-Rowe, I think, has been fantastic. So I think Tierney, certainly down that side, can give West Brom problems.
Yeah, and I think, the reality is I picked him mostly because I thought it's got to be a nailed-on 6-pointer there at least from a clean sheet perspective, you'd expect. And there is potential for some upside there for him too. And he ranks really highly for ICT, so there's potential for bonus points as well if they don't go mad going forward. And Arsenal aren't at the moment going mad going forward. It's 1 or 2 goals here or there. Okay. So I think there's good scope for him this week.
All right, I like that as a pick, actually. I have to say, I'm a bit worried about that one. Let's move to the midfielder, 62.8%
and arrested one.
Oh my day, 62.8% owned Son. Now, you're spotting a theme here. I was going for players that have been rested, because obviously with the hectic Christmas schedule, these COVID outbreaks and games being called off mean that a lot of teams, suddenly they're having like a few days rest, which at this period is huge. Now we know with Spurs in the Spurs camp and Son, fingers crossed there is no COVID issues there. It was the issue was with Fulham in game week 16. So Son, having looked potentially a little bit tired, I think, in recent weeks,
for sure, now
suddenly comes into a game where we saw what Leeds were like at Old Trafford when they went away to Manchester United. They conceded 5 or 6 goals, didn't they? And in the end, United just kind of ripped them apart. It looked like they looked like scoring every time they were coming forward. And we know what we're going to get with Leeds, because Bielsa came out at the beginning of the season, fairly early doors, and said, look, we are a well-drilled team, we'll work hard and we will attack. That is our philosophy. We're not changing.
Yeah.
And there have been 1 or 2 games, like Sheffield United, I remember, where they've kind of squeaked it 1-0. But their general MO is to go for it and to leave that space.
As we saw in 16 against West Brom.
Absolutely, as we saw. Now, any other team, you fancy Leeds. Well, most other teams you fancy Leeds, but Spurs have shown that they are the masters of the counter-attack this season. So I expect Spurs to probably just sit off a little bit, but then counter.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
given that it's the rest that's key. It's the rest that's absolutely key. I think Son could find a lot of space and use his pace
What's
on the break
interesting
against
for
Leeds.
me is I agree with everything you've just said. I think in many ways this is the perfect game for Son and Kane and the counter-attack system that Spurs play and successfully play when other teams come and play like Leeds will undoubtedly play in that match. My one chink of concern is actually to do with this rest because Spurs were told very late that this rest was coming. They were prepped for a game.
Right.
So mentally, where does that leave you? Like, you've done all the warming, you've done all the preparation, you're ready for a match that then doesn't happen. How do you train? Like, do they do a training match then between themselves so that they've got those minutes in their legs? Do they
I
go
think
back?
that's a first world problem. I think
Maybe.
that's the rest is way bigger issue
Maybe.
than momentum. I think.
I don't know. I think that there will have been a schedule over Christmas. And
Wasn't like
losing
Spurs had a lot
match-
of momentum anyway going into this
No,
game.
but losing a match, I think, so late. I think had they been told last night or the night before that it was off, when you've got a bit of preparation time, it's easier. And I think we'll see that. It'll be interesting to see that with Manchester City and Everton as well when we watch them play again, as to whether there's been a kind of a jolt in the trajectory.
All right. Well, I think the rest is going to be absolutely key for Spurs. Son is in my team right
Hope so,
now,
anyway.
and I have to tell you, my bus team has got him captain right now.
Ooh,
Captain Son in my bus team. That could change, but right now,
dear, oh dear.
that is where I'm looking. Let's move to Daniel Podence then. 5.5 million in that Wolves side. 5.2% owned, which is far lower than he was earlier on in the season. He was quite well owned, wasn't he, among the FPL Twitter community at least. Brighton away feels like a nice fixture, the way that Brighton are playing right now. Daniel Podence then.
There's a theme here. Didn't start game week 16. Started on the bench. Did come on, get some minutes, and I thought played well when he did come on. I have a thing about Daniel Podence. I really like him. I think there's something about the way that he plays that I really enjoy watching him. I think
Is it the way he falls over or the way he rolls around when he's on the ground?
Maybe both.
Bit of both, yeah.
Both.
Okay, good.
I think he gets into all the right positions. He's doing all the right things. Now, my one concern at Wolves at the moment is the lack of Jimenez. The lack of that out-and-out striker who's just there finishing things. And I think we're starting to see Neto maybe sort of trying to fill in that role. There's Fabio Silva as well, but I'm not that impressed by him. But Podence, every time he's on the pitch, I really like him. Couple that with the fixture. Brighton they're all over the place at the moment. They put out a slightly weakened side against Arsenal, which does make me think that they'll probably have the likes of Ben White back for this game against Wolves, which maybe is slightly detrimental to my Podence pick. But I just think that, we were talking before about Arsenal, about how momentum's going in their favour, attitude is improving, morale is getting better. At Brighton, I think it's the opposite.
They need a win. They do. They really need a win.
Yeah, it's the opposite. And I think Wolves they'll be really disappointed with what happened in game week 16, losing that game against Manchester United so late. And I can see them wanting to bounce back against Brighton in game week 17. So yeah, for me, I think Podence will get the start and I suspect he'll be involved in the goals.
All right, okay. I think Brighton might just have one eye on that going, we got to win this.
Well, they do.
We've got to win. And at home to Wolves, Wolves aren't scoring a ton of goals right now. And I know exactly what you mean. Up front, they're lacking that sort of that confidence, that clinical finishing. I think the three of them, of course they miss him, but the three of them, they're full of flair and tricks and everything else, but they just haven't got that end product quite. I think of the three, is it Podence or is it Neto? I would say they're equally good finishers, but neither of them is obviously on a par with Jimenez.
No.
Very, very quickly, one word answer, can Wolves get Diego Costa now that he's a free agent from Atletico Madrid and with that big signing?
Where do you come up with this stuff?
I've seen it on Twitter. It could happen.
Oh my lord!
Well, it's either Wolves or Spurs he's going to, Sam. So we'll be looking out for where Diego Costa ends up.
You've got
Maybe
tonight.
in January. Let's move to the front line. 10.2 million will get you Jamie Vardy up front away at Newcastle. Now, Jamie Vardy is a player that I've got earmarked not only for this game week against Newcastle away, but actually the fixtures coming up. Given that I'm using my free hit chip in 18, where Jamie Vardy doesn't play, I really like the look of his double fixture in game week 19, Southampton and Chelsea, both teams that I think are going to attack. So I will be looking at Vardy again for 19, but in the immediate future, Jamie Vardy against Newcastle away, I think is a nice fixture. Now, Newcastle, we are yet to see how they play in game week 16. As we mentioned before, they are playing right now. It's just kicked off against Liverpool, so we'll watch Newcastle a little bit, see how they perform against Klopp's men. But Jamie Vardy on a reasonable run of form, and Leicester do look pretty dangerous right now. Harvey Barnes looking good as well.
And rested at the start of game week 16.
And indeed rested a little bit. Yeah, well, this makes a big difference. It makes a big difference after the December that a lot of these clubs have had. If they can have a little bit of a rest, it makes a difference. Now, I appreciate, again, a risky pick, a bit like Robbo with the rotation, because is he carrying a bit of a knock? Is it being managed? Now, he himself will come out and say, I'm fine, it's an injury I've got. I think he even said I'm old, and he said I'm just getting on, I'm old, and these injuries come up. I was like, fair play, Jamie.
He's about the same age as us, isn't he?
He is about the same age as us, so I feel you, Jamie, I feel where you're coming from. So he is managing these injuries, but he himself doesn't feel like that's a big problem. But having been rested in the previous game, I think he's going to come in against Newcastle and do pretty well. And I've been particularly impressed with Leicester as a team, as a side, since Ndidi's been back. We've talked about it on these videos before. We've talked about it on our FPL Family live streams on Sunday nights. He makes all the difference, Ndidi, and he frees those players up front to do the thing.
But Maddison is flagged, and that worries me when it comes to Vardy, because Vardy is far better. Yes, with Ndidi, I 100% agree with you on that, but also when Maddison is there, Maddison and Vardy's relationship is so important for Leicester when it comes to scoring goals. So it depends for me on a number of things. I think if Maddison is fit, and if Vardy isn't carrying something that's going to, potentially flare up again, then obviously he's a great pick, because Newcastle have been pretty poor since their own COVID problems a few weeks back. They still haven't got all of their players back from that, and that is really difficult to manage over this busy period. So, yeah, he definitely could hurt me this week, that is for sure.
Okay.
I suspect he'll get you points.
All right, Jamie Vardy in at 28.1% ownership. Now, Sam,
wait for it.
Talk me through
it.
This pick.
Wait for it.
And get in the comments below and let me know what you think Sam has been drinking this evening to pick Christian Benteke at 5.5 million. All right, he's home to Sheffield United, and I appreciate you're playing the fixture here, but it's Christian Benteke, so what are you doing?
I don't really know. So there was a couple of reasons for it. The first one
more than one. Okay, good.
Yeah. So the first logical thought I had was...
Look, it's logical.
There was some logic to this.
Right.
So I looked at the unders, the forward, and so many of the under 10% owned forwards have got really tough fixtures this coming week, like really difficult, where I was looking at and thinking, I'm not sure there's a lot of goals in that one. Then I got to Sheffield United and thought, I mean, it's Sheffield United. They are, what have they got, 2 points across the whole season, and minus 19 or something for goal difference so far. Surely.
But Christian Benteke, Sam.
Well, so it was either, do I pick Zaha in the middle? No. Or do I go rogue?
That would have been better.
Absolutely rogue and give it to Benteke. And there's just a part of me that thinks Benteke is going to just bully him, isn't he? He's going to get in that Sheffield United box, and he is not going to move around. He's just going to stand there and wait for them to get the ball to him. And they will, because Sheffield United defend so badly. I think this might be Benteke's week.
The one thing that I will say about Sheffield United is they don't look convincing full stop, but from set pieces they look even less convincing.
Putting his head on
and with
stuff.
Ramsdale in goal, I'm not surprised, because he doesn't inspire confidence in that back four. So I do get you, if Benteke can put himself about a bit, if he can ruffle a few feathers, then okay, but...
And he's going to play.
Come on,
he's 0.5%
ownership for a reason, Sam. Get in the comments below, guys. Let us know what you think about Christian Benteke as a pick.
Look, I have taken the picking differentials to the extreme today, because I've got Tierney, I've got Podence, and I've topped it with a Christian Benteke star on the top of my Christmas tree for the new year.
It might be Sheffield United at home in 17, but then it's Arsenal away, and then it's a single...
But it doesn't matter about that.
A single game in 19 against Man City away.
Get some points now.
Absolutely no one watching this video is going to get in Christian Benteke. But if you fancy 1 week punt...
They'll all be tweeting you when he does something good.
There will be. There will be. So there we go, guys. Get in the comments below. Let us know on Twitter. Let us know on Instagram how you feel about our picks. Are you hashtag Team Lee or are you hashtag Team Sam for the Game Week 17 points prediction? It's Robbo versus Tierney, Son versus Podence, and Jamie Vardy versus... Christian Benteke.
Come on, Christian.
Let us know in the comments how you feel. Give us a subscribe if you're new around here. Hit that notification bell. Leave us a like before you go, and we'll see you this time next week to find out how Christian Benteke does. See you guys.
Bye, guys.